Okay, change of plans. I've made a video before and things didn't work out. Um, I'll go over some of the things I said before, but this guitar is going to be very different. I'm going to have to mount my Tremolo Stabilizer on the side like this because for some reason this guitar has, starting here, a angled route down. I've never seen that on a guitar before. Normally it's just completely flat. Like from here back it's flat. And the problem is this unit needs to sit level because one screw hole is towards the front, one screw hole is towards the back. So if I try to mount it in the middle, this part is too high. So to go over what I was saying in the other video, okay, so basically what you do at this point, if you just buy this Tremolo Stabilizer, you're about to install it, all you got to do is tune the guitar. Make sure it's perfectly in tune and it's set up how you want it set up. So my block is perfectly flat, and that's pretty much an easy way to know if your tremolo's set right. A lot of people have issues, especially with Ibanez guitars, because of the way the trim, the bridge is designed. They'll have kind of oblong shaped edges, so you can't really tell. Like with a Floyd Rose is flat. So the easy way to know if it's set up is if it's flat with the body, it's pretty much in line. Well, the easiest thing to do is just come to the back of the guitar and look at the block. The block is setting too much forward this way, then you know it's coming inward too much. If it's setting too far out this way, then you know it's rising up a little too much. So anyway, with this guitar, so let's say you have a normal guitar where it's all flat. All you'll do is you'll come back here. Normally this spring will be over here. You'll set the unit just touching the block, just like so. And then you'll want to, adjust your bar to see how far inward it will come, because you don't want to go past this part. It can't. It'll smash. So you want enough clearance, which easily this has, because this is not a very deep route. But, I have this exact same unit installed on all my RGs and everything. And sometimes it gets close. It will get a little close to this part right here. But if you need more room than this, something's up with your guitar. But anyway, you set it where you want it. You just have it touching. What I normally do is then I will take a nail and I will scratch right here where the end meets, and over here where this meets. So I know that this is touching, and now I know where the unit needs to sit. Then I will take it apart by taking this thing off, taking this whole thing out. Then I will mount the mounting bracket inside. Now this was to be different. It'll be on the side, but will still work the same. But that's all you really need to know for this part. Well, that was a pain in the ass. I do not recommend having to do it on the side like this. But, okay, so as you can see here, I marked it where this part had to meet. So you could do the same downward. The same theory applies. I just mark it. See, it's just touched. So now if I whammy down, whammy up, you see it move. Now how this works, this is where a lot of people get confused. They don't understand the setup now. Now what I have to do now is I have to add tension here. So what adding tension here does, by just adjusting this and pushing this, basically making this go this way, just this thing, not the rod, just this adjuster, it tightens the spring. So right now, for me to go sharp, it's effortlessly. Like there's, let's say, 0 pounds of pressure coming this way. Now when I start adjusting this, let's say it goes 1 pound, 2 pound, 3 pound, 4 pound, all the way up to, let's say, adding 10 pounds of pressure just by adjusting this little thing right here, and it adds tension on the spring. So now to come sharp, let's say I adjust it to 5 pounds. So now it will take me 5 pounds of pressure for it to move this way. Now you're saying still, how does this stop bends? Because when you do a bend, it goes flat. Well, once you add about 5 pounds of pressure, let's say here, now you adjust these screws. You start tightening them, not a whole lot. Obviously, you don't want to add more than 5 pounds of pressure more going this way, because then you counteract this. So let's say we add 10 pounds of pressure here. Now we add 5 pounds of pressure here. This acts as a stopper now. It will take 5 pounds of pressure for it to go this way, and it will take 5 pounds of pressure for it to go this way. So it acts like a stopper, but a tensioned stop. So I can still go sharp, I can still go flat, but I can't do it unless I meet the criteria. So if you want to be able to like drop tune your guitar and all that stuff, you have to add a lot. I'm not gonna lie. On one guitar, this thing's sitting all the way almost back here, and this poor spring is smushed to shitting back. And if you go too far, it actually won't go. If there's not enough room for the spring to move, it will actually just stop on you. So if you want to add a different spring that's tighter, you can, and that would require less moving this forward. I'll see if I can adjust this just a little. It's normally a pain in the butt. It takes forever to move, but I think I'm loosening it. There we go. Yeah, now tighten it. You can see the. Well, I was tightening it. To tighten it, you gotta go that way. Well, anyway, you tighten it enough. So the purpose of this is to counterbalance. So when your strings are on the guitar and your springs are on the guitar, and it's in tune, it's at a 0. It's equal pressure on both sides. So now what you do is by adding this, you add more pressure here and add more pressure here, basically. So then it allows you to do bends, double stops, all that stuff, all while staying in tune. Like this bridge will not move. I will show you once I have it set up. I already recorded me moving the string and showing you how much the bridge will move without this on here. So let me set this up and I will show you everything. Okay, she's set up. It's probably hard to tell just going from one part to the next. So you see I added the tension here. So then I adjusted these. Now a good way to know if you've gone too far is you'll start to see this move. Just hasn't moved. So this now means I have positive extra pressure going this way. So if I was to magically somehow take this off, this block would move forward because there's more pressure now on this side than there is on the normal side with just the strings. If I loosen the tension to just like it was when it came and I took this off, it would still be right in this exact same spot. So that's how this works. You get it in tune, you put this on, you add tension. So this doesn't move the bar forward, it still stays right here. So it acts like a stop. If you tighten this all the way, it would be a stop. It would not move at all. So basically we're adding tension. So now it's taking, let's say, roughly 10 pounds of pressure to move this thing forward. So that gives us some play here. So let's say we added 5 extra pounds of pressure going this way. So now it's taking 5 pounds of pressure for me to do this the normal. Which, I mean, I do feel a little tension in the whammy bar, but not a whole lot. But where this comes in play, where this is the positive, where this helps you, is now it takes 10 pounds of tension to go flat. So that means you can bend and lose a string and it still stays in tune because you still have, now you have this extra energy still here. So that's how it works. It's really simple how it works. You're just adding in a stabilizer. That's all this does. And by adding that extra pressure in this stain here, so when I whammy, let's say it goes flat, it springs right back into place and it stops there. It has to stop there. A lot of time when you have a guitar and you whammy flat down, when it comes back, it won't come to 0. It'll like stop, like say right there. But now this forces it to go there. And the same thing if you go sharp. Most guitars, when you go sharp, when you let go, they just kind of slowly go back to place. With this, everything is just, it will always go to the exact same place. Now over time, these springs will wear out because you have extra tension on them and stuff like that. I haven't had any problems with these. I've never had to adjust any of them. And my oldest one is from like 2012, and it still has never needed changed. I've just had to change these springs over time. But we're not talking like a month or so. We're, you know, maybe once a year, once every 2 years. But that's the key. Get it in tune and put this on here. This is to move this. I didn't really cover that, which I don't really do. I get it to where I like it, you know, and then I just leave this alone. And if I started moving this, it would move it either way. Depends on which way I turned it. So once I get it to where I know I have enough clearance, which obviously I do, that's as sharp as she'll go. So I mean, I could have put this thing a lot closer, but if by having to go closer, I'd had to pull in this, and that would have shortened my distance here. So you want this to be as long as possible so you have a lot of play here. So I put it on, and this thing was all the way back here, so I took it up to easily about almost halfway. And honestly, if you go past here, it doesn't work because the spring just crunches up too much. So put it on, tighten it up, add a little extra tension on your springs. I only turn these screws maybe 2 full resolutions each. So, I mean, I didn't add that much tension. But let me put it all together, and I'll show you the difference between before and after. Okay, here's the trim. Look how much I'm pulling on the string. And it is moving. I can see it very subtle in person, but I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but look at that. Okay, you'll have to excuse the crude setup. I'm not a professional YouTuber. So here, I don't even have the locking nuts down. This is just the tremolo and straight tuners. So I'm a little flat. So there I'm on E. Now the typical problem with tremolo, floating trims, is once you tune them, once you tune that last high E, then you go back and hit your low E, and it's always off. So let's watch this. Low E. A is almost spot on. D is spot on. Okay, there, E's on. So we just tuned like, what, 2, 3 strings? Let's go back to our E. Right where it was supposed to be. So here I'm going to hit my E, and I'm bending my A. This is kind of a bad example because I have the locking clamps off, so I'm not really getting a great example. But without the locking clamps on, look how good it's staying in tune. My A slipped a little. Okay, here's to me the ultimate test. Here's my high E. Let's drop this down to a D, right? Now let's hit our low E. Oh! So if my high E can drop to a D, and my low E can stay in tune, let's drop my low E down to a D. Oh, too far. A's on, D's on. And that's with a floating trim that is still fully operational without locking clamps. I need to lock these damn things down. Of course, the G always goes out. So, I mean, I don't know what else I can say or do to really show how awesome these stabilizers are. Added benefits is your sustains longer, because what people don't realize a lot of times, I'll make another video talk about all this stuff. Here's the Tremolo stabilizer I use all the time. It's in every one of my guitars. There's only one guitar that has a different stabilizer, and that's the Ibanez Gem 777 that I got, the anniversary model. Got the Loch Ness green, and it came with the Ibanez backstop, I believe they call it. And it's basically two of these kind of mounted together. It works, but I prefer these. Maybe it's just because I use these longer and I know how they work. Sorry, it's a little hard to be center because I have the phone on a tripod right in front of me. So excuse these videos, first of all. I'm not a professional YouTuber. You know, I'm just throwing this together to try and help people. But the benefits of this are unreal. I've been playing floating trim guitars since '96. And trust me, I didn't discover these until like 2010, 2011. So I struggled just like everyone else. You know, here's a trim sitting out of the guitar. And, you know, if it's sitting in the guitar and the guitar's facing this way, you know, if you do a bend, it pitches forward. You know, if you set your palm on it, it would pitch down. So you kind of had to learn how to play it. You know, it's completely different than playing on, you know, a fixed bridge or a hardtail. You know, you don't have these problems. If you do a bend, you know, you go out of tune. So this purposely fixes all of those problems. I'm not going to take this one out of the package because I'll lose the screws if I do. Let's say this pin is the stabilizer. So the stabilizer will just sit on the block. And in the other videos, I'll show you how you tighten the springs and the tensioner in the stabilizer. But the way a trim works is it has springs going this way. And let's say there's 20 pounds of pressure. I think it's way higher than that, but let's say there's 20 pounds of pressure on the strings, right? Well, for it to be in tune, there's got to be 20 pounds of pressure down here on the springs. So what this does is it sits on the block. It allows you to add tension. So to move it, it takes more than the normal pressure. So in a way, it acts like a stopper, but your hand, by grabbing the whammy bar and moving it, releases that tension. You know, you're going beyond that tension. So when you have, you know, what I say, 20 pounds of pressure here and 20 pounds of pressure here, when you put the stabilizer on it and it acts like a stopper, you can now add more tension on these springs. So now let's say you have 25 pounds of pressure down here. So it's sitting here and it's acting like a stopper. So when you have those strings and you do a bend, as long as you're not going above 5 pounds over in torque or whatever, tension, your block's not going to move. So it stays in tune. You know, these numbers are all, you know, just off the top of my head. They're not realistic, but it's giving you an idea how it works. Everyone who's been asking questions on the original video, they don't understand how it works. And, you know, in the first video, I didn't really go too far into it because I figured people could go online and read about it and see how it works. But really, it works how you want it to work. Some people put them on and they don't really do anything. You know, they just let it act like a rest. And, you know, a lot of people, they'll dive bomb down and the guitar will come, the bridge will come back, but instead of going back to zero, it'll either be a little flat or a little sharp. Well, if you put a Tremolo stabilizer on it and just add an ounce of pressure more on the springs and have 2 ounces of pressure on setting your tension, it will make it go back to zero. But if you do a bend and stuff, it will still go out of tune. So it can help just keep your guitar in tune, or you can set it to, you know, let you drop your E down to a D and everything stays in tune, but you still have use of the trim. So, I mean, to me, it's well worth it. I think they're only like $30. You know, I think the price on them has gone up. I believe I bought them at one point for like $15, $20. But, you know, I think as time progresses, things go up. But what I've noticed also, and I don't see anyone talking about this with Tremolo stabilizers, but when you put one on and you set it up, it adds sustain. and it thickens your chords. And I think the reason why isn't because of all this tension and or adding another piece of metal down here. I think it's simply because your block doesn't move. If you ever watch your block when you play, sometimes when you strum real hard, you'll see it kind of move a little. So by creating what basically is now a blocked bridge, I think your strings don't have as much play. And that wobble in the tremolo bar, that's gone, you know. The only downside to this, some people like a real light touch on their whammy bar to be able to barely whammy. The more tension you add to the tensioner, your stabilizer, the more it takes to whammy. You know, it just does. You're adding tension, so it just causes that. But the other thing is, people who would do the whammy slaps and get that bang sound, that's gone because your tremolo like locks into position. If you whammy down and you let go, it's like whoop, it's like instantly right back into position. So, I mean, there are some downsides, but to me, all those pros outweigh those cons. You know, all I ever wanted out of a bridge was to be able to whammy down, whammy up, and you know, for it to stay in tune. So when I discovered, you know, the stabilizer, I mean, it was a dream come true. You know, Steve Vai has those backstops made by Ibanez on all of his guitars. And if you listen to his guitars, he does do a lot of different things. He does do double stops. He does do very heavy bends. You know, he whammies the hell out of his guitar. And if you go watch him live, he'll play a guitar for 3-4 songs before switching out. And, you know, I'm going to tell you right now, I guarantee you on each one of his guitars, this is set differently. Well, his will have too. So he probably has one that's very light, and that one he can do the, you know, the whammy bar slaps on, but all it's mainly doing is help keeping the guitar in tune. And then ones that, you know, he's just bending the ever-loving hell out of the strings, I guarantee you it's set a lot tighter. So the bridge, I mean, you have to understand, when you bend a note, if you go a whole step bend, your bridge will move about, it's a little drastic, will move about that much just on a bend. So if it's moving that much just on a bend, imagine, you know, what it's doing to all your other strings. All right, well, hopefully I covered all those questions. I'm sorry it's taking so long to come up with a part 2, which I never really designed the video to have a part 2. But, you know, instead of just answering every single question, I figured I'd make this video and answer as many questions as I possibly could. You know, I think people just overthink this thing. I think, you know, there are other ones out there on the market right now. Stay away from them. There's one that requires you to drill like that long of a hole through your guitar. Because what happened was someone bought the patent rights to this in America. I want to say it was Fender. I could be wrong. But instead of making one, they won't let anyone make them. So that's why they just abruptly stopped selling in America. Peavey had one. Ibanez had one. There was like 4 or 5 of them. You can see a picture of all of them together, I think, on gemsite.com, where if you type in like Tremolo Stabilizer, it shows you all the companies that used to make them. Well, then overnight, they just all disappeared. And a lot of them look just like this. It's probably the same company making them. Excuse me. I've been fighting a cold. But, and then they just up and disappeared. And even Ibanez stopped using them. I was really shocked to see the backstop on the 30th anniversary gem. I don't know how they did that, but apparently they still make them, or they still can, but they just don't use them. But to get this, you have to go to the website. It's I'll put a link in the thing. I have to get this from I think Russia, because nowhere in the States they can sell it. You can have it imported, you just can't buy it in America, which is stupid. But you know, eBay, they pop up on eBay sometimes, but I've noticed on the eBay they've been price gouging them. I saw one of these go for like $50. I saw a original Ibanez backstop going for $300 on eBay. And then I found it on another website, on just Google searching it, and I found one out of an original gem that had been destroyed, and the guy only wanted like $60. So it's like, you know, Sometimes you have to go straight to the regular website nowadays to get a decent price. Like stuff like eBay and stuff is just going through the roof. You might find them on Amazon. You know, I've been surprised at what I find on Amazon from time to time. But, you know, that's it. Hopefully I covered every question you could think of. If you have more, post them in the comments and hopefully I'll answer them. Hopefully I won't have to make a part 3 because, Jesus, it took me, 7 years to make part 2. So, all right. Hope this helped.